The anime starts by showing a group of gangsters walking to a place. The gangster was led by a red-haired man named Sao Mikoto. Mikoto and his gang were heading to a hotel room with some strangers. It took a little time. The Mikoto gang members broke into the hotel room, then attacked those guys and asked them for something shown on the phone. However, they did not know what Mikoto's gangsters were looking for. A little girl named Anna, a member of Mikoto's gangsters, checked whether they were telling the truth with a pearl in her hand, and those strangers did not know anything. Mikoto and his gangsters then went to leave the hotel room. Just exited the hotel, they were surrounded by a group of blue uniformed troops named Sector 4. Mikoto stepped forward to block Sector 4 by releasing flames that burned the surrounding area. He also created a huge sword that floated above the sky, but Sector 4's leader also made a similar sword to fight his sword. Mikoto's gangs and Sector 4 were ready to fight. The scene then moves to Shiro, a high school student who has a hobby of collecting side dishes for his lunch. Shiro even surrounded his friends' seats to ask for fish or meat side dishes. Shiro's action was noticed by a female student who intended to give vegetables to him. The girl circled the school to find him everywhere. It turned out that Shiro was eating his food supplies above the school attic. Shiro's objective of collecting fish and meat was apparently to be given to his cat. After lunch, Shiro returned to his class and saw the other students practicing drama. A student then asked Shiro for help picking up the fireworks order of the student council member. Shiro did not carry a school PDA card, so the student was forced to make a memo for him. Shiro then left Ashinaka High School, located on an island. But on the way, he got lost because he didn't memorize the address. At the same time, one of Mikoto's gang members was watching him and sending Shiro's image to other members. After being confirmed, they began to move to pursue Shiro. The scene changes to Shiro arriving at the fireworks shop to pick up the order. At the same time, one of Mikoto's gang members was a man riding a skateboard named Yada, who approached Shiro and blocked him. Yada has confirmed that Shiro's face was the same as the other face on his digital clock. But Shiro managed to escape, so the chase among Shiro, Yada, and Mikoto's other gang members ensued. However, Shiro was finally desperate because he had been surrounded by various directions. But suddenly, a man came to help him against Mikoto's gang member, so Shiro managed to escape. He was Kuroh Yatogami, a follower of the former Colorless King named Miwaichi Gen. Elsewhere, the TV channel was hacked and featured a video of Totaro Tatsuka's murder, one of the members of Mikoto's gangsters. All city residents, including Sector 4, Shiro, and Kuroh, could see the video of the murder. In the video, it's seen that the face of the murderer Totaro Tatsuka was similar to Shiro's, but his look and personality look very different. Kuroh asked Shiro whether the person in the video was himself. With an innocent face, Shiro replied that it seemed that the person in the video was him. Hearing this, Kuroh intended to kill him with his sword, but Shiro tried to explain that it was a misunderstanding. Shiro corrected his words that the guy in the video might look like him. He then tried to escape, but Kuroh could easily catch him. Shiro gave up and would accept if he had to be killed. He then asked for time to write a will to his little sister. He did not want his little sister to be hurt because of his death. Shiro said that his little sister was very sick, and she was the only person he had in this world. If Shiro died, then his little sister would be alone. Kuroh felt a little sorry after hearing his life story. Shiro then asked Kuroh to give the letter to his little sister. But when Kuroh opened the letter, it turned out that the contents were empty. Shiro again escaped using a smoke bomb. It made Kuroh very angry because Shiro turned out to be just deceiving him. Shiro then wore a dog costume. He was afraid that he would be chased again like a fugitive. On the other hand, Mikoto's gangsters turned out to have an official name, Hamura, or Red Clan. Hamura was the one who hacked into the city's TV, then announced to the media that they were giving a big reward to the people who gave up Shiro. Everyone was in an uproar because the reward offered by Hamura was huge. It made everyone start looking for Shiro while he surrounded the city in a dog costume so he wouldn't get caught. Meanwhile, Yada attacked Kuroh and asked about Shiro hiding above a building. Shiro then called Kuroh and asked him to defeat Yada immediately. Kuroh and Yada fought fiercely, but finally, Kuroh managed to urge Yada. But when Kuroh went to the top of the building to see Shiro again, Kuroh was deceived by him. The scene changes to show Shiro, who has returned to the dorm safely. He looked exhausted and was lying on his bed. He wondered why he had to experience it. This is just because the face of the man in the video was similar to his. Shiro felt anxious about his future. He kept thinking about the events that had happened to him. But suddenly, he was shocked by the appearance of a sleepless girl next to him. The girl introduced herself as Neko. On the other hand, Kuroh arrived at Ashinaka High School. He knew the school symbol from the unbuttoned button of Shiro's uniform. He looked confused, looking for Shiro at Ashinaka High School, which has a vast area. Finally, a student named Kukuri addressed Kuroh and asked if he needed to come to their school. Kuroh explained that he was looking for a student named Isana Yashiro, or Shiro. Hearing this, Kukuri offered help to escort him to the men's dorm so he could meet Shiro. He immediately bowed and thanked him. Kuroh's attitude made Kukuri laugh because he seemed polite and funny. After arriving at the men's dorm, Kukuri called Shiro from under and said someone wanted to see him. Shiro then came out of the balcony of his room and looked down. He saw Kuroh, who had arrived at his school. Shiro was shocked and returned to his room, while Kuroh immediately rode up and drew his sword at Shiro. But Neko, who was not dressed, appeared and made Kuroh close his eyes. Shiro then could escape. Neko had an illusionary magic technique that could trap the enemy. In the end, Kuroh, Shiro, and Neko instead pursued one another around the school, but the students only knew the existence of Shiro and Kuroh, whereas Neko could not be seen by other humans. She turned out to be the cat that Shiro used to take everywhere. Sometime later, Neko made a large wall as a barrier so that Kuroh stopped chasing Shiro. But Kuroh, who thought it was an illusion, tried to break through the wall and turned his head against it. It made Neko laugh because Kuroh managed to be played. Their chasing ended in Shiro's room, and they stopped in exhaustion. Neko felt very hungry and asked Shiro for food. But Shiro was not good at cooking, and Kuroh became good at cooking. So, Kuroh instead made dishes for Shiro and Neko. After a while, Kuroh finished cooking and served it to the table, and the three of them started eating together. The scene turns to a man who is the leader of Scepter 4 named Munakata, looking astonished because Mikoto voluntarily gives himself up. Munakata entered the cell and woke up Mikoto, who was sleeping. Munakata immediately asked what Mikoto's real purpose was. Munakata knew that Weissman Mikoto's level was almost over the limit. If Mikoto's sword of Damocles fell, the Kagutsu crater formation could happen again. But Mikoto seemed to ignore Munakata's warning. He threatened to kill Mikoto if he did not listen to him. Even so, Mikoto claimed to need help understanding what Munakata was talking about. Munakata immediately said the point, which was to ask Mikoto to abdicate. He said that he would never listen to Munakata's words. So, Munakata again threatened him by locking him up for life. But Mikoto didn't mind and said Munakata, a blue king, was guarding him, so Mikoto would happily stay in prison. Mikoto's answer instead upset Munakata, so Munakata noted that he was sick of it when he had to breathe the same air as Mikoto. He also explained that he did not have time to guard Mikoto for 24 hours. But Mikoto still didn't care about Munakata and returned to sleep. After that, Munakata returned to his office and met Awashima, one of the Scepter 4 members. Awashima reported the results of the investigation. It was about the weapon used by the perpetrator in the murder in the video. In addition, she thought that Mikoto was better off staying in prison so they could give him muscle-weakening fluid. Hearing that, Munakata said the idea was radical but exciting to do. Munakata then issued an order for security to be upgraded to royal blue. He also asked Awashima for a 2-week incident report while in the city because he wanted to examine recent events in the town to solve the case. The Scepter 4 group led by Munakata is one of the clans in Japan, and their job is to keep the people safe. Munakata is one of the 7 kings, the Blue King. That's why the Scepter 4 uniform is blue. The scene again shows Shiro, Neko, and Kuroh dining. Shiro warned Neko for eating neatly and always appreciating food. Shiro and Neko listened to and obeyed Kuroh's advice. The scene then moves to Kusanagi Bar, and the guy gets a call if Scepter 4 deletes the video they uploaded to the media. After hanging up the phone, Kusanagi thought that the teachers at Ashinaka High School were siding with Shiro because his investigation at the school was useless, making him upset. Soon after, Yada and one of the Hamura members, Kamamoto, stormed into the bar and rioted there. Kusanagi was angry and instantly reprimanded Yada and Kamamoto for not making a fuss at his bar. He then asked them why they were fighting. Yada explained that Kamamoto thought Mikoto was a traitor for turning himself into the Blue Clan, Scepter 4, but Kamamoto argued that he didn't mean to suspect Mikoto. Kusanagi explained why Mikoto turned himself in. It was done to make Hamura gang could do his job freely without being monitored by Scepter 4. Kusanagi's explanation made Yada and Kamamoto understand. Yada said they should keep their guard up to find Shiro. The scene again shows Shiro, who asks Kuroh why Hamura wanted to kill him. Kuroh replied that the person killed in the video was a member of Hamura so that they would demand revenge. Shiro then explained that Hamura was a group of people who served the Red King, Suo Mikoto. He was known to be very rude and violent, while Hamura, or the Red Clan, was the 3rd clan of the 7 clans in Japan. On the other hand, Hamura gang was in a warehouse and getting some weapons thanks to accurate information from Kusanagi. But a man named Fushimi from Scepter 4 came to stop Hamura gang and told Scepter 4 that he had found his armory. The scene switches to Shiro's dorm room being cleaned by a cleaning robot, but the presence of the cleaning robot scares Neko. Shiro again asked Kuroh why the Red Clan was also after him. Shiro replied that he was a follower of the 7th king who could foresee the future. At first, Shiro thought that the Prime Minister was in the highest position in Japan, but it turned out that the Prime Minister received orders from King. Shiro also explained that Gold King was the one who managed to make Japan a wonderful and prosperous country and had advanced technology. Shiro told Shiro that Japan has 7 kings, and each king represents each color. Like the red represents the Red King, they are violent to the others. After that, Kuroh suddenly prepared to kill Shiro. Realizing that, Shiro reconfirmed that he was neither a king nor a murderer accused of him and asked Kuroh to reason. Shiro felt that the video was fake and deliberately made to frame him. He then explained that one of the kings was a very evil colorless king, so it was not unusual for the colorless king to kill people. Kuroh initially thought Neko was a follower of Colorless King and assumed Shiro was the same. But Shiro explained that he also did not know who Neko was. Since Neko had special powers, Kuroh realized that Neko was a strain. He finally asked his master to investigate whether Shiro was a murderer. Kuroh then asked Shiro to press the cassette button as a deal. Shortly after, a voice was heard from the tape. Shiro then explained that the tape's content was the voice of Ichigen and his words. He greatly idolized the figure of Ichigen, who was his former king. The next day, Kuroh was making food for Shiro and Neko, and he asked Shiro what he would do for that day. Shiro replied that he would go to school and do his job. But Kuroh was angry because Shiro forgot his promise to prove his innocence. Eventually, Shiro refused to take Kuroh to school so he wouldn't be accused of running away. While in class, Shiro's teacher saw Kuroh sitting at the table and asked who he was. He explained to his teacher that he was a transfer student. Kukuri greeted Kuroh, and he again thanked Kukuri for helping him at that time. Soon, Neko came and disturbed Kuroh, who changed her existence to be seen by others. This made the teacher again ask who the girl was who suddenly appeared. Shiro explained that Neko was also a transfer student. The scene turns to Scepter 4, who has found Shiro's school location in Hamura. Yada immediately rushed to the island where Shiro's school was located. When the breaking time, Shiro and Kuroh again discussed the murder video. Shiro got the video from his friend Misuna. Suddenly, Kukuri came and invited Shiro and the others to change their uniforms. The artistic rehearsal was about to begin. Shiro then told Shiro that he had to prove the alibi on the date the murder occurred. Shiro remembered and felt that he was at school but did not know the activities he was doing. Shiro said that if Shiro only slept in the room and had no eyewitnesses, there was no way to prove it. Meanwhile, Neko said Kuroh was bad for accusing Shiro. He was sure Shiro couldn't possibly kill. Shortly after, Kukuri returned and asked Shiro and the others to come up to the stage. Shiro asked Kukuri to remember the incident at the school on December 7th at 12 p.m. But she did not want to remember it because she got a love confession from Misuna on the tower. Kukuri refused Misuna's love and left due to shame. Shiro and Kuroh moved to find other clues by meeting the school photographer, but Shiro did not find any photos of him there. Kukuri then asked for help delivering goods to the teacher's room, and Kuroh came to help her. After arriving in the teacher's room, Shiro asked for the name on the absences list that came out of the school on December 7th at 12 o'clock. The teacher then gave the print of the absences to Shiro. But when Shiro saw it, there was no list of names, so he became relieved. When they were done, they wanted to buy a drink, but Shiro didn't have any money. Kukuri asked why Shiro liked not to bring his PDA, even though it could be used as a means of payment in the school environment. Kuroh realized that Shiro could have gone out of school without using his PDA. That made Kuroh again intend to kill Shiro because he did not have an alibi. Shiro said that he would try to find evidence to make him believe. When seeing Shiro protecting Neko, Kuroh remembered when he was rescued by his masters. He softened again and let Shiro find the evidence. Shortly after, Kukuri then remembered that Shiro was in the locker room and showed him the hole in the attic. She showed a picture and the date of the incident to Kuroh, so Shiro had an alibi. Shiro was relieved and felt he owed Kukuri his life, and their problems had been solved. After that, Kuroh went to practice to participate in the art stage. Shiro returned to his room because he was tired of looking for evidence. But when he wanted to take his school uniform in the closet, Shiro was surprised to see blood marks. It made him recall the video of the murder, and he began to doubt himself. Soon after, Neko called him, but Shiro looked pale. On the other hand, Yada and Kamamoto arrived at Shiro's school to look for Shiro's whereabouts, while Shiro himself continued to daydream because of thinking about the facts that happened. This made Kuroh angry because Shiro did not help his busy friends. Kukuri then asked Shiro for help and gave him an assignment. The scene moves to Scepter 4 headquarters. Awashima knew Shiro's location and prepared to go to school. She invited Fushimi to join her mission. Fushimi then asked what she would do to Shiro. She replied that she would arrest Shiro and keep him in the cell. The scene turns to Yada, and Kamamoto manages to get into the school using another student's PDA. While Shiro, Kuroh, and Neko were out of the emergency exit because Shiro's PDA was missing. Shiro and the others went to carry out the task Kukuri gave them to buy fireworks for the festival. Awashima and her team then arrived at the school. She met the principal of Ashinaka High School, and there was a serious debate between them. The board Fushimi decided to go out of the room around the school. While Yada and Kamamoto were busy looking for Shiro by asking the students. All the students asked by Yada instead went and ran because they were afraid to see the thugs at school. Fushimi then went into the room of the Student Member Association to look for information about Shiro. Fushimi then looked at Yada and Kamamoto, who gathered information from the students. Fushimi then made fun of them, even though he was a former member of Hamura. The annoyed Yada saw Fushimi directly attack him. The fight between them looked very fierce, and Fushimi apparently could use two techniques, the Red Clan and Blue Clan techniques. On the other hand, Yada continued to attack relentlessly and was intent on defeating him. But the fight was finally stopped by Awashima. Yada and Kamamoto left, while Fushimi looked annoyed because he had just enjoyed the fight. But Awashima reprimanded Fushimi, so he immediately apologized for his behavior of fighting and causing trouble. Awashima knew that Fushimi was tracking the school system and asking for results. He replied that the man in the video was not a student at Ashinaka High School. While Yada and Kamamoto continued their search for Shiro, Yada asked Kukuri if she knew the man who was drawn. Kukuri said that she did not know the man and that he was not a student there. On the other hand, Shiro and the others went to the restaurant to dine together. Neko was eating voraciously while Shiro was busy in his daydream. Shortly after, Shiro saw the picture in the shop and asked the owner why he didn't exist. The shop owner was surprised because Shiro usually came with his friends to his shop. Shiro also wondered why everything about him wasn't there, and everything had disappeared. The scene turns to show Awashima coming to the bar to chat with Kusanagi. She asked why the Red King was at home in prison. While Kusanagi and Hamura members seem mediocre, Kusanagi replied leisurely if it would be better if they were near the Blue King. The scene again shows Shiro and the others. Shiro tries to call Kukuri, but she doesn't recognize him. Not only that, Shiro tried to call his house, but he got the wrong number. Suddenly, Neko behaved strangely and left them. Shiro and Kuro went to check Shiro's home address, but on arrival at the site, it turned out that it was just a stadium field with no housing. The scene changes to Mikoto and Tatsuka when they first met. Tatsuka liked to follow Mikoto and thought of him as the true king. At one time, he was attacked by other gangsters until he was injured. Mikoto and Kusanagi came to visit him. Tatsuka liked to be near Mikoto and wanted to cheat him. Tatsuka was also very close to other friends in Hamura. He also wanted to skateboard with Yada. Mikoto felt that Tatsuka was interesting, and Kusanagi thought the same about him. Hamura looked happy when he was with Tatsuka. Anna often asked Tatsuka to sing a song for Hamura because Anna and others liked to hear him singing. The scene changes to show Tatsuka in a critical state above the attic. Yada and Kusanagi came to rescue Tatsuka, but they failed because he died. Kusanagi told Mikoto that Tatsuka was gone. Then he took Tatsuka's camera lying on the floor. Meanwhile, Shiro had been frustrated with himself and had also lost confidence. He even asked Kuro to kill him because he was probably a murderer. But Kuro played the tape about his master's words and told Shiro not to give up on finding the truth. Even though Shiro was hesitant about what happened, they still had to find out the truth. Shiro didn't want to give up, but his feelings were sorrowful. Suddenly, they were startled by the presence of Scepter 4, who came to arrest them. Awashima and her crew raised their swords, assigned to summon Demakel's sword. She asked Kuro to call Demakel's swords like them, but Kuro refused. Neko then came and made an illusion so that Shiro and Kuro could escape. Fushimi asked Munakata to intervene against Kuro. The Blue King arrived at the location to paralyze Shiro and Kuro. Neko's illusion was lost because of Munakata's formidable strength. Kuro also paved the way for Shiro and Neko to escape from the stadium. Awashima then asked the other guards to arrest them. Kuro and Munakata fought, and Munakata discovered that Kuro's masters were the former Colorless King. But Munakata was not a worthy opponent for Kuro, seeing that he was beaten up by Munakata. Suddenly, Shiro returned and told Munakata he would not leave his friend. Shiro then apologized to Kuro because he had lied to him. He pulled out his Demakel's sword and attacked Munakata. Shiro helped Neko use illusions so that they could bring Kuro away. Munakata and Scepter 4 were surprised when they discovered that Shiro was a sword user. Munakata realized that he was deceived by Shiro. On the other hand, Shiro asked about Kuro's wounded condition, but Kuro said he was fine. Shiro praised Neko's power to manipulate states and thoughts. Shiro finally realized that Neko had made a false memory of Shiro. He remembered the events at school and his memories, and it turned out that it was Neko. Shiro then asked Neko to unleash all his magic so that he could remember who he was. If he is indeed the evil king, then he is willing to be killed by Kuro because Shiro is tired of living in uncertainty and escape. Kuro had asked Shiro to think about the consequences all this time. He had already rounded up his determination and prepared for all possibilities. Neko restored Shiro's memory of when he first met her. Shiro fell from the attic and went into the school shed. Neko found Shiro there and began to create illusions in his mind. Shiro then asked Neko to return his memories further back in time. Neko tried to return to Shiro's memory, and he finally saw a man who had dropped him off a plane but didn't recognize who he was. He only found a piece of memory, but he saw an air balloon that happened to pass over him. The next day, Neko took Shiro back to their place, but Kuro forbade him because the Blue Clan already knew where Shiro was. Shiro was determined to learn more about his past and would also start a new life and try to live it. He did his first mission by attacking Scepter 4 to retrieve his PDA. Fushimi then reported to Awashima and Munakata that their members were attacked. The attacker also left the code at 2 p.m. At 2 p.m., Shiro called Munakata to negotiate with him. All Scepter 4 wire connections had been disconnected by Shiro, so focus on Munakata. Shiro asked Munakata to catch the man on the plane because, most likely, the man was the real killer. Shiro said if they catch him, then Shiro will turn himself into Scepter 4. Fushimi tried to trace Shiro's location with his team, while Munakata demanded that Shiro turn himself in along with Neko and Kuroh. Shiro took it upon himself, and Munakata said he would catch the man on the ship. Fushimi and his team went down to the site and inspected the covered truck, and it turned out Shiro had set them up with cheap tricks. Shiro and the others were hiding in a small ship to carry goods. Sector 4's office was also busy sending units from Division 1 to 5 to capture the Silver King, Adolf K. Weissman. Awashima then warned Munakata that according to regulations, they did not have the authority to conduct investigations from the Himnoreich ship, which was subordinate to the First King. She advised reporting to Gold King first, but Munakata said that the Gold King would not allow them until later. Therefore, Munakata would only ask permission once the Gold King stopped them. He claimed that Gold King had a connection in Tatsuka's murder, so he asked each division to try to make Himnoreich's ship land at the base. The scene switched to Shiro, Kuroh, and Neko monitoring the situation. Neko then reported to Shiro that Munakata and his partner had come. Shiro felt that Munakata had missed Adolf. Kuroh asked Shiro to continue with his plan and that they should not be seen by anyone. Meanwhile, the Sector 4's divisions had surrounded Himnoreich's ship, making Adolf appear excited. Shiro and Kuroh boarded one of the helicopters that flew around the Himnoreich ship. Shiro asked Kuroh what kind of person the Silver King was, but Kuroh had never met him. He had heard from Ichigen that the Silver King was the first king of the 7th king of Japan. Suddenly, Neko entered the cockpit room and played with the helicopter, so the helicopter that was driven by Kuroh and Shiro wobbled. Fushimi, who saw it, immediately asked his members to calm down while in the air, but Neko continued to play the helicopter, so they crashed into Himnoreich's ship. The scene changes to Adolf's research, funded by Commander Kokujoji Dekaku. Adolf had a sister who also worked under Commander Kokujoji. He and his sister were very close and liked to joke. One night, suddenly, their base was attacked by another military. Commander Kokujoji arrived at the base that had been destroyed by the attack. He saw Adolf holding his sister's body, the victim of the incident last night. After losing the lab and his sister, Adolf left his lieutenant and flew in on Himnoreich's ship. Sector 4 then looked for a pilot who crashed Himnoreich's ship. Awashima was busy checking the crime scene, hoping to find a clue. Meanwhile, Fushimi reported to Lada Munakata that 3 perpetrators were on site. The scene moves to Ashinaka High School. Kukuri was busy as the head of the student association. She asked Misuna and the others to vacate the uninhabited men's dormitory. They felt that the room was like it had been lived in. During the investigation, Munakata met with Gold King to check on the condition of Silver King's body. Munakata's arrival was to negotiate, not fight, because he didn't carry his sword. After checking the condition of Silver King's body, he left the Gold King's residence. On the other hand, Mikoto the Red King got a call from prison, and the man who called him claimed to be Tatsuka's killer. The caller was a man wearing a mask. He was making fun of the Red King on the phone. Mikoto didn't even stay silent and immediately tracked down the masked man with his powers and found his location at Ashinaka High School. But suddenly, the masked man exploded, and the mask split. Kukuri and his friends saw the explosion. Mikoto, who already knew the location, immediately got out of jail. He destroyed Sector 4's office quickly and was intercepted by Awashima. But with just one strike, Mikoto was able to make the Sector 4 members helpless. Hammer Gang had been waiting in front of Sector 4's office to pick up Mikoto. Anna then approached Mikoto and took his hand. Kusanagi also greeted their boss, who had found the target. Mikoto told the Red Clan, Hammer Gang, that Tatsuka's killer was in Ashinaka High School. Yada and Kamamoto seemed happy because it was following their predictions. Hammer Gang went to Ashinaka High School to find Tatsuka's killer, which took a little time. They arrived at Ashinaka High School and announced that students would follow them if they didn't want to get hurt. Every Hammer Gang member started the action. Mikoto was lying in the rubble, waiting for Tatsuka's killer to appear. Suddenly, the sky snowed. Then Anna approached Mikoto and said that she did not like the snow that disturbed Mikoto's red color. Hearing that, Mikoto burned the snow that was sticking to his body. Anna stood next to him while looking at the sky. On the other hand, Kusanagi went to Yada to ask about where Shiro was, but Yada and the others found nothing about Shiro. He ordered Yada to be on night watch in the area. He also asked him to do something. Meanwhile, Fushimi and the other Sector 4 members arrived at the Ashinaka High School gate. Fushimi remembered his story with Yada while still in Hamura. He and Yada were close friends, but Yada was angry with him because he moved to Sector 4 and left Hamura. From then on, Fushimi and Yada hated each other. Meanwhile, Kusanagi met Mikoto and Anna, who were sleeping together. Kusanagi remembered Tatsuka, who admired Mikoto very much. Even before Mikoto became king, Tatsuka already thought of Mikoto as a king. Kusanagi then asked Anna to be with him because Mikoto was having guests. Anna went down to Kusanagi and followed him. Mikoto then walked into the forest to meet Munakata, his guest. Munakata went to Mikoto to negotiate. He asked Mikoto to leave the school because many innocent students were victims of his action. But Mikoto refused to do so and didn't care about the fate of the students he held captive. Munakata said that the killer was Colorless King and that Munakata would arrest Colorless King and let Mikoto kill him. But Mikoto also refused his help, making Munakata very angry. The war between the clans seemed imminent because the talks between the two kings did not find a deal. Meanwhile, Shiro, Kuroh, and Neko were surprised when they returned to their dorm rooms, which had been destroyed by the explosion. They just returned from the Himnorike ship collision incident. Neko looked very sad because her favorite bowl was broken by the blast, while Kuroh recalled that Shiro was currently being hunted by many people because of the Totsuka murder case. Kuroh said they should not return to the dorm room. Neko was angry because she thought the room was her home. Shiro then told Kuroh that they needed to mend the house. He also asked him to ask Ichigen, who could see the future, so they would know what to do next. Kuroh took out the tape to listen to Ichigen's advice, but he firmly said they had to help Kukuri and others, and it was not the time to depend on Ichigen's words. Hearing this, Shiro invited Kuroh and Neko to go and look for the whereabouts of Kukuri and others. He also asked Neko not to worry about the bowl because they would come back again. Shiro, Neko, and Kuroh left the dorm room. In the evening, a masked man put bombs at various points in Ashinaka High School. The next day, Mikoto recalled Munakata's advice asking him to step down as the Red King because the power of Mikoto's Demakul's sword began to fade and would not last long. He kept thinking and feeling this was true, and he went to see Kusanagi and held his shoulder without speaking. Mikoto left the room, and Anna couldn't stop him. Meanwhile, Munakata gave the order to Awashima to lead Hammer's attack troops. Awashima asked the Scepter 4 members to use their weapons. Hammer Gang and Scepter 4 were facing each other and were preparing to start the battle. At the same time, there was an explosion inside the school many times. Munakata went into the school to check what had happened. He then saw a young man who asked him for help, but Munakata was attacked by the young man. The young man might have been the mastermind behind everything. He again detonated the bomb, so Munakata was hit by the attack. Awashima was surprised to see their leader attacked. On the other hand, Anna realized where the opposing position was, but she was also attacked, and so was Kusanagi. Shortly after, the enemy again detonated bombs in every corner of the school. Kukuri felt the events at his school were very strange. When the bomb again exploded near Kukuri, Kuroh came to rescue her. Shiro also greeted Kukuri, even though he knew she would not remember him. Eventually, Mikoto found Shiro and was about to kill him. Kuroh and Neko were angry because Mikoto was going to kill Shiro. Meanwhile, Hamura and Scepter 4 were fighting fiercely, but the members of Scepter 4 looked worried about their leader. Awashima came and asked them to unite and focus so they could excel. While Yata started her duel again with Fushimi, which was delayed. Mikoto began to approach Shiro but was blocked by Neko and Kuroh. Neko used her illusion but was quickly destroyed by Mikoto. He beat Kuroh easily, but Kuroh got back up and asked Shiro and the others to leave. Shiro left Kuroh to fight with the Red King, but Mikoto's strength was much more significant than Kuroh's and made Kuroh desperate. Luckily, the fight was stopped by Munakata, who had succeeded in killing the bombers. On the other hand, Shiro explained to Kukuri that they were safe now, but suddenly Kukuri stabbed Shiro in the stomach. Kukuri turned out to have been possessed by strange forces, so she turned into evil. Shiro suddenly remembered the past shadow of Adolf K. Weissman. In the fight, Mikoto asked Munakata to stop bothering him, but suddenly they saw a very bright silver light, and so did the Hamura and Scepter 4. The light came out of Shiro's body. Shiro only realized that he was the first king, namely Silver King Adolf K. Weissman, and Shiro's memory had returned. But Shiro still used his current name, even though he knew his identity. On the other hand, Mikoto invited Munakata to continue their fight because maybe it was their last fight. Shiro realized that all this time, he had the power to enter the souls of the kings. He now knew that the killer of Totsuka was the Colorless King. He asked Neko and Kuroh for help. Awashima saw Munakata's Demakul's sword, which Hammer Gang also saw in the sky. It meant they were both fighting. Awashima intended to go to help Munakata, but Shiro came and kidnapped her with the gravity power of the Silver Clan. Meanwhile, the fight between former friends Yata and Fushimi was still fierce. Shiro tried to break up their fight, but Fushimi and Yata attacked him because he had protected Shiro. On the other hand, Kusanagi was met by Shiro, Awashima, and Neko. Kusanagi was about to fight Shiro, but Anna forbade him because she felt they were not enemies. Shortly after, Kusanagi got a phone call, and Shiro asked him to pick up the phone. The man who called Kusanagi wanted to talk to Shiro, and Kusanagi asked who he was. The man replied that he was the Gold King, making Kusanagi immediately give the phone to Shiro. After talking to Gold King, Shiro hung up, then asked Kusanagi and Awashima to calm their respective clans, asking them to evacuate the students from the school. He explained that the real enemy was the Colorless King, who was, after all, the king. Therefore, he will let the Blue King and Red King continue fighting to provoke the Colorless King's emergence. After that, Shiro made Neko the first member of the Silver Clan. He then asked her to create an illusion to evacuate the students to leave the school. Shiro told the students that they were his precious friends. Then he made a silver shield so the Colorless King could not break through. He finally discovered the existence of the Colorless King that entered Kukuri's body. Colorless King was angry because Shiro was able to foil his plan. Neko turned out to be out of power for using all her strength. Shiro then asked Anna if the students were safe. Anna replied that she had done her duty to bring the students out. Awashima then requested the King of Silver Shiro to stop everything. Shiro couldn't promise, but he will do everything he could. On the other hand, the Colorless King needed a new container to be occupied. He laughed, amused at Shiro's attempt to end it. Colorless King intended to go after Red King and Blue King and prepared to start his action with his slick face. He wanted the bodies of the two kings to have. While in the fight, Mikoto and Munakata both looked very tired. But Munakata still had time to mock Mikoto, which made Mikoto upset, and he said he hated the nature of Munakata, who always looked friendly. Munakata argued that he did so because of his mission as one of the Seven of Kings. His job as king of the Blue Clan, or Scepter 4, was to defeat Mikoto of the Red Clan. Although Munakata was eager to help Mikoto not to do it. But Mikoto felt that Munakata wasn't being himself right now, so they fought back very fiercely. Meanwhile, Kuroh beat up Yada and Fushimi at the same time. Yada was whimpering in pain, holding the Red Clan seal on her body. Fushimi checked Yada's body, and it turned out that the seal was fading. He said that the power of the Red King was out of control, but Yada was angry because Fushimi dared to comment on his king. The scene again shows Yada and Fushimi's past when they first met the Red King. Fushimi and Yada were playing console games on the side of the road. Yada took Fushimi's bottle, then threw it away without seeing if there was anyone or not. But it was captured by Mikoto and drunk it. Mikoto then invited Yada and Fushimi to join the Red Clan. The scene shows Yada, who tried to make Fushimi realize that their first king was Red King. Yada asked if Fushimi didn't have any feelings for Red King. Kuroh finally cut off their quarrel and asked Yada and Fushimi to stop. In the meantime, everyone had been successfully evacuated by Shiro and others. Soon after, Kamamoto arrived and asked them to leave. Shiro came to see Kuroh, and they solved the problem individually. Shiro said it was time to save Kukuri. Kuroh asked if Shiro was sure this way, and Shiro seemed confident and said he would leave the matter to him. Kuroh reminded Shiro that he had regained his status as a king. Kuroh complained about Shiro's attitude that he still acted as he wished and was not as responsible as before. He asked Shiro to be as assertive as a real king. Shiro apologized to Kuroh while holding his favorite red umbrella, but Shiro realized that he was not the ideal king for him. But Kuroh sighed and bowed to pay his respects to Shiro. It made Shiro panic, and he immediately asked Kuroh to stop doing it. Kuroh asked Ichigen for permission to introduce his new king. He officially devoted himself to serving the first king, Shiro. But Shiro asked Kuroh to stop doing that because he didn't need any ceremonies and wanted friendship. He asked Kuroh to stand up, and Kuroh had officially become a Silver Clan member. On the other hand, Kukuri monitored the Red King versus Blue King fight. She realized that the Blue King began to weaken due to fatigue. She intended to take the Blue King's body first, then move to the Red King's body. But Kukuri hesitated and chose to wait for the Red King to weaken, then face the Blue Clan. After gaining the power of the Blue King and the Red King, she could easily defeat the other king, and the Colorless King would become the strongest. Shortly after, Shiro and Kuroh arrived to fight the Colorless King inside Kukuri's body. Kukuri looked panicked when he looked around and did not find anyone. Kuroh said they had evacuated everyone so the Colorless King could no longer possess anyone else's body. Kuroh pursued Kukuri, who fled, but Kukuri shot at Kuroh to avoid following her. While Shiro saw the sword of Demacles belonging to the Red King and Blue King, Kuroh took out his sword on Kukuri and said it was given to the former Colorless King, Ichigen. He said he would not let the next Colorless King come from the bad guy, and he managed to get Kukuri cornered. Colorless King put on Kukuri's innocent face and said she was his friend. But Kukuri instead laughed, amused because there was no way Kuroh would finish her. She challenged Kuroh to slash her body and asked Shiro to stop Kuroh. The two hesitated so that Colorless King could enter Silver King's body. When Colorless King was inside his body, Shiro said that he felt very sorry for seeing Colorless King eating up too much of people's nature so that Colorless King no longer knew where his true personality was. Shiro then sealed the Colorless King inside his body so that the Colorless King could no longer come out. Kuroh asked Shiro if it was right to beat Colorless King that easily, but Shiro asked Kuroh to ask him later and ordered him to take Kukuri away while he stopped the Red King and Blue King fight. He asked Kuroh not to worry about him because he was the Eternal King. Shiro felt responsible for the two kings' quarrel. He apologized to Kuroh and asked him to guard Kukuri and Neko. When heading to the place of battle, Shiro spoke on his own and told the commander that he was absolutely sure his research would make everyone happy. But when looking directly at Shiro, the kings were now selfish and moved independently. The same thing happened when Shiro and the commander went on different paths in those days. On the other hand, Kusanagi felt that if Mikoto did not make it back safely, Yada nagged the Red Clan for leaving Mikoto alone. Kusanagi then hit Yada on the head, who was acting like a kid. He told Yada that Anna could stand firm seeing Mikoto, who was fighting there. Shiro appeared in the middle of the fight between Mikoto and Munakata. He asked Mikoto to kill him immediately, and there was a devastating explosion at the battle site. Meanwhile, Kukuri woke up from her unconsciousness. She recognized Kuroh and Neko but could not remember Shiro, making her sad. Kuroh asked Kukuri to rest and not to think about anything else. Meanwhile, Shiro disappeared due to a devastating attack from Makoto. While the sword of Demakel's Red King had been broken, it looked like this would be the last fight for Red King. Munakata was angry because of Makoto's actions which damaged his sword. But Makoto did not regret his actions, so his blade began to collapse, and he wanted to attack his master. Seeing that, Munakata immediately pierced Makoto's body with a sword to stop the disaster from happening, and Makoto fell into his arms. In the meantime, Anna felt that Makoto no longer existed along with the level of Red King Weissman, who had disappeared. Shortly after, Munakata returned to the members of Scepter 4, who looked happy because they survived King. While Neko found Shiro's umbrella and held it, Neko said she would give the umbrella to Shiro, but Kuroh said she would never be able to give it to Shiro because he is the eternal king. Kuroh also told her that Shiro was their king. Meanwhile, Hammer Gang sang their songs to drive away the Red King. Anna saw a stunning red light. Kusanagi felt that Makoto was a perfect king for Hammer Gang. The moral that can be learned from this anime is not to make accusations before there is evidence, which is the main conflict in this anime. The main character gets in trouble because of the allegations directed. In addition, this simple conflict is peppered with plot twists and extraordinary graphics, making this K-Project anime enjoyable.